What's up, Blue Nation? Welcome back to Jones Corner. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Uh, how y'all been? Okay, so we got some stuff to talk about. So let's talk about things. Okay, Agents of Shield, as we all know, sadly is coming to an end. I'm very sad. It's such a great show. This season, so amazing. I'm loving the whole Sarge thing and where it's going with it, and it's just so good. I don't want it to end, but it's ending. And there's speculation that the last season is going to cross over with Agent Carter, which they've kind of done before. They've had episodes where they had flashbacks to it and stuff like that. But I think that'd be cool. Agent Carter deserved a season 3. It deserved more than it got. It was such a great show. So to see more in that world would be fun. It'd be exciting, and I'm hoping we get it. I'm hoping that's not just a rumor, that they actually do something with it. The writers also said that they decided to end the show. So to me, that means they know where they're going and they're crafting an ending, and they've given us all this amazing shows. I'm sure it's gonna be fucking beautiful. So I'm excited for it. I can't wait. Um, Doom Patrol has been renewed for season 2, and apparently it's not only going to be on the DC Universe app, but also HBO Max, the new Warner Brothers streaming app, which tells me that they're trying to have the best of both worlds. If you want to pay the insane, outrageous price of HBO Max, you can, and they're not going to try to charge you for all these other streaming services. You'll get all of them in one, or you could piecemeal it and get the parts of it you want, which I think's cool. I think that's a good way to do it, depending on your budget and your interest. If you're only interested in DC stuff and you don't want any of this stuff, you don't have to buy the rest of the stuff. If you're only interested in HBO and don't want the rest, you don't have to. Like, I think that's a smart way to do it. And I think that Disney is going to do pretty much the same thing, like with Disney Plus and Hulu and all that. It would make sense, you know? But I am excited that Doom Patrol is getting a season 2. That was such a great show, man. All right, but the main news for today, and if you haven't seen season 4 of Veronica Mars, you can turn it off now. If you've seen the Veronica Mars season 4 and you're easily offended, then you can turn it off now. Otherwise, let's get into it. So they dropped it early, like a week early. I binged it in a day. I fell in like, I was like, oh my god, it's out. Then I just watched it. I loved it, which I know controversial. Oh my god, people are gonna hate me. Yeah, which is just insane. Okay, so like, I always thought the most toxic fandom was Buffy fans, because you get on the Buffy Facebooks and stuff like that. They just love to tear each other and certain characters apart. I mean, there's literally one group that I'm a part of. I think I left it where it was against the rules to talk positively about Nicholas Brendan or Xander. What? Like, get the fuck out of here with that. Like, I can't deal with people. I can't. But the Veronica Mars fandom has always been so positive and happy, and they're probably the second happiest fandom I belong to after TESD. And after season 4, that just changed. So much anger and hatred towards each other. And it's insane. It's like there was it's like Rob Thomas drew a line in the sand, and you pick a side, and the other side, it's like, wow. It's insane. It's literally insane. So I just wanted to talk about season 4 and my opinions on it, because I watched it and I loved it. It was so perfect, and I just feel like a lot of people who didn't like it weren't watching the same show I was watching. So let's dissect it. If you haven't seen it, again, spoilers, turn this off. Okay, so as we all know, Veronica Mars is a show about original show was a show about a teenage girl whose best friend was murdered, and her dad is the sheriff. He accused the wrong person, and the whole town turned against him. She then starts working for him as a secretary and starts solving crimes. It's like Nancy Drew, but better. That's the premise of Veronica Mars. And with that premise in mind, I think a lot of people wanted to see that show. But you can't get that show. That show's done. There was no way to bring that show back. Show was about a teenage girl who was underestimated because she was so young, but who happened to be smarter than just about everybody else around her. But who happened to be smarter than just about everybody else around her. She's an adult now. You can't do this. She's in her 30s. How are you gonna have her be the young girl who's smarter than everybody else? Then that's just insulting. That premise is gone. She aged out of it. And who wants to watch a show where nothing changes? That's how television used to be, man, but that's not exciting. That's not, and it's also not realistic. In high school, yes, the show was about a tight knit group of friends too. She had her tight knit group of friends. But even by season 3, that had dissolved. Her relationship with Weevil wasn't the same. Her relationship with Wallace wasn't the same. Wallace wasn't helping her with cases. Wallace wasn't doing anything with her. He was doing his own thing. She was doing her own thing. And they were still friends, which is honestly how life happens. You guys start to diverge. And that started in college. Then she moves away for 10 years. Let's talk about that, because there also seems to be a lot of people who don't understand who Veronica is as a person. She was on a trajectory. She was going to be this one type of person who was a snooty, upper middle class snob. Even though she wasn't upper class, still she hung out with rich kids. She was that type of person. And maybe she would have been like the Meg, who was a rich person, an 09er, but was nice. We don't know where she would have gone, but she was on that trajectory. Lily dying and her dad being ostracized from everybody else changed that trajectory and put her on a different path. And it's a path that she embraced and loved and excelled at. But every time she would do something good, it had consequences. This show has always been about, at its core, actions have consequences. And the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Veronica does something good and something bad happens. And that's life. Literally, that is life. I see it all the time in my personal life, in my friends' lives. That shit is real. You don't get happy storybook endings. So then she costs her dad the election. And she leaves. She gives up her friends, her family, her career, her everything. She gives it all up and leaves. Starts a new life, reinvents herself. She's not happy. She's not content. It's not her. Veronica was very much set in her ways as a teenager. And she threw all of that away. All of it. Just tossed it all away. Out of guilt. She's the Peter Parker of PIs. Until Logan calls her back, and then, that gives us the movie, and she goes back to her home and the world that she left, that she abandoned. And she realizes, like, this is what my life could have been, what my life should have been. And she embraces it again. And keep in mind, yes, her and Wallace have kept in touch, but they're obviously not as close as they were in high school, or even as close as they were when they were at Hearst. Her and Logan haven't talked. Her and Weevil haven't talked in that 10 years. The only relationship she really maintained is kind of Wallace, kind of Mac, and her dad. That's it. So when Logan goes back, she's very much a fish out of water. And then we see between the movie, the 2 books, and the show, because the one thing I loved about this show, season 4, is that it kept referencing the books, which I just loved. I thought that was the greatest thing ever. But those 4 things are very much its own thing, its own show, its own world. So the first show, the first 3 seasons, is teenage girl is underestimated because she's smart. She's the smartest person in the room, but everyone underestimates her because she's so young. And that is its own thing. That's over here. Then we have this next chunk, which is the prodigal child returns and tries to find their way back into the life that they left. And a lot of shows start there. So it's not a bad place for the movie to pick up and for the books and this new show to take off from. And they could have gotten a long run out of that. They could have. And her and Logan, they got back together and it was happy, and all the Love fans were excited. As was I. I'm a big fan of Logan and Veronica. So I like that too. And but here, I don't think that was ever their goal to tell this show. The original show and a lot of other stories would just be the backstory. You would hear about it, but you wouldn't see it. We saw it. This stuff right here could be the part where some shows happen, or it could be the backstory. I think that season 5, if they get it, is the show they wanted to tell. Veronica herself, Christian Bella, compared the show to Murder She Wrote. She said that she wanted to do a Murder She Wrote type show. I think that's where the show is going in season 5. But in order to do that, you had to sever her ties with Neptune. And I think that's what this season was about. Okay, so let's the movie brought her home and got her back into the PI business. Got her missing what she used to do. You know? Because she gave that life up for 10 years. So the movie got her back into that life. Over the course of the books, you know, she gets back into the habit. She's used to it again. She's her old self again. But her relationship with Weevil, because a lot of the complaints I got is that I read online were people upset with how the relationships in the show were so different than the old show. So let's dissect that. Well, let's start with Wallace, her best friend. Well, Mac, I guess there was a conflict with the actress and why she couldn't be on the show, but she was in the books and like I don't know. I missed her, but it's fine. So we're not going to touch on that one because their relationship is fine, peachy keen, as far as I'm aware, reading the books and them not mentioning it at all in the show. So we'll start with Wallace. People are upset that Wallace didn't play as big a part in this season, but why would he? There wasn't a lot of filler episodes, so there wasn't a lot of personal stuff. There was some, and the some parts that there were, he was involved in heavily, and so was Dick. Dick and Wallace played the parts that they should have played in this show. But Veronica and Wallace were best friends in high school. In college, they kind of started to grow apart, and then they lived in different states for 10 years. Yeah, they kept in touch, but they had been apart for 10 years. When they come back, yeah, they try to fit each other in each other's lives, and it looks like they did a pretty good job of fitting into each other's lives. But he had his own career. He has a family now. It would make sense that Veronica is not the most important part in this world because she never really was. She's his best friend. She's not his lover. She's not his soulmate. She's not his hero. She's his friend. And he has things he has to take care of over here. He has his own life. And the fact that his life isn't revolving around hers makes sense. I don't understand why people are upset about that. You wanted to see more of him? Hey, so did I. He's one of my favorite characters. And their friendship, one of my favorite friendships of all of television. But I saw nothing wrong with how it was portrayed on the show. It made sense. They're still close, but they both have their own things going on. That's life. You're not going to be spending all your time with your high school BFF like you were in high school. It's not high school anymore. It's like people don't understand that. They want the status quo and they want it to stay there. But why? That's not interesting. That's not fun. I love that the show is taking risks and is going places we don't expect. It's exciting. That brings us to Weevil. Now, Weevil, the last time we saw them talk was in season 3. And they haven't talked since. They stayed as much in the reunion movie. So they haven't even spoke in 10 years. And then when she comes back, they're good. They're tight. They're bonded. And I think a lot of people's confusion with the relationship because they haven't read the books. In the books, the relationship is pretty much what it was on the show. In fact, a little closer because he's spending all his time with Keith Cliff because they're working on a case to sue the sheriff department for the planting of the evidence. And Keith and Cliff are investigating. They're getting all this research together. They're building a case, and it's looking like they're going to win. And at the last minute, Weevil takes a deal and collapses the whole lawsuit. Now, he does so because he wants to get his wife and daughter back. Obviously, from watching the show, you could tell that didn't happen. But that was his intention. And Veronica couldn't forgive that. She understood it, but she couldn't forgive that. And I just thought that was so beautiful and such a great storytelling because here's two people. We know them both. We love them both. And we can understand both of their perspectives so well. And there comes to an ethical question, and that diverged on the ethical question. And I don't think either one is really wrong. Veronica wanted to take the sheriff's department down and help all the people that had been wronged from the sheriff's department. She had a grand, noble thing that she was fighting for, and that everyone in her circle was fighting for. And she's pissed because Weevil sacrificed that, threw that away for something selfish. She has every reason to be upset, every reason to be mad and pissed off. But then look at Weevil's point of view. He built from nothing. We saw what he came from, what he grew up with. He had nothing. He was poor. He built his own business. He got a wife, a daughter. He got himself clean out of gangs and all that stuff. He built a life that he could be proud of. And he had it all stolen from him. Then he had an opportunity to get it all back. There was no guarantees they would win the case. No one was under any false illusions that they would win. They had a chance, but they weren't sure. It wasn't positive. But he was offered a for sure way to get everything he lost back. And he took it. He took it for his daughter. He took it for his wife. He took it for his family. Yes, what Veronica was trying to do is noble, but so was what he was doing. He was taking care of his family. He put his family first. And yeah, things between him and his wife didn't work out. They're still not together. And that sucks. But that doesn't diminish what he did. And he did what he thought was right. What he felt he had to do as a man for his family. And that's respectable. Two people took different paths that kind of butt heads and can't really connect on. But they both had noble reasons for doing it. And I think that's what's lost in a lot of the world today is that people are like, if you don't agree with me, if you don't do what I think you want to do, then you're a horrible, evil person. And it's like, no. Two people could do two different things for two different reasons and both be right. Neither one of them is wrong. They're just right for different reasons. And I think that they dealt with that beautifully. And when push comes to shove, Weevil was still there for her. Weevil and Veronica still put other people before themselves. And he still came and saved the day. So their relationship makes sense. It's what it should be. And they were never BFFs. They were friends. They were acquaintances who bordered on friends. And that's still kind of what their relationship is, with a little more stress and wear and tear thrown in there. But it's all natural and it all flows and makes sense. Then you have the Logan thing. And the Logan thing, I think, is where a lot of people butted heads with this new season. So let's dive into that. On the show, Logan was a troubled guy. He had rich parents who kind of too much into their own thing. His dad was abusive. He didn't have the best life, the best home life. Then you add into the fact that his girlfriend was murdered. Then you add into it, so that gets us to season 1. His girlfriend was murdered. He has a fucked up home life, an abusive dad, and his girlfriend was murdered. Season 1, he's a troubled teenager. It makes perfect sense. Then you find out that his dad is the one who murdered her while he was having an affair with her. Of course, he's a fucked up guy. Like, he has so many issues. And then Veronica obviously has a lot of issues. She's a child of divorce. Her mom, and not just the divorce, her mom just up and abandoned them. Her best friend died. All her friends abandoned her. She was raped. Both of them had really troubled teenage lives. And they found each other and they loved each other. And they shared a bond and a connection that got them through everything. And the biggest complaint that I saw on, obviously besides the major one, was that it was like, why is Veronica so damaged and this and that and it's just like that. And it's like, but that's not new. That's always been there. The reason they broke up, really in season 3, is Logan was always in the relationship. Logan was there for her, but he was also off doing his own thing. and she had to know everything he was doing all the time. Like she was kind of obsessive in the relationship. By college, Logan was already mellowing out. Yeah, he was still a hothead, but he had started to mellow out. Veronica had it. So by college, by the end of high school, college, they were already on two very different paths. And then they left. They went different ways. And Logan, he went through a dark path, and then he joined the Navy, right? Then he joined the Navy, and Veronica went to law school, became a lawyer. Veronica, but here's the thing. Logan ran to something. Veronica ran away. And that distinction, that difference, shows you where they are in their lives. Veronica was trying to run away from who she was because the consequences of her actions were weighing too heavily on her. She wanted to try to be someone else, to reinvent herself, to forget everything that had happened. And obviously that doesn't work. You can't run away from your past. It catches up to you. Which is why when we get to the movie, it's her past catching up to her. But Logan, he ran to something. He hit rock bottom, and then he took a look and figured out a way to fix his life. And then he grabbed onto it with both hands and forced it into a reality. Kind of like what Veronica did in high school. She forged a new identity, a new persona. She made something for herself. Well, that's what Logan did. So when we get to the movie, they're in very different places. Veronica is coming home for the first time, facing everything that she ran away from. Logan, yeah, he's going through a murder charge and a lot of bullshit. But his life is kind of together. He's a completely different person than he was in high school, which makes sense. Then you get the books. And in the books, he's not there as often. He's, because he's in the Navy, he's away and this and that. And, but even with there's some, I think in the second book, he's there a lot more. The relationship is good, but it does have problems. Like in the second book, he's there a lot more, but Veronica is on the verge. She never does it, but her and Leo kind of have this weird thing, which in the show, season 4, they pick up on, and they go with that a little bit more. And I think it's because her and Logan, they love each other. They have that love, and that love that comes from shared trauma, shared, tragedy. It bonds them. It connects them. But they were on very different paths. Veronica uses her pain. She channels it. And I think that's why the 10 years she wasn't really happy, because she wasn't channeling that pain, nor was she confronting that pain. She just buried it. When she's in Neptune and she's doing her PI stuff, she's channeling it. She's taking that anger, that pain, that hurt, and she's putting it into something. But that's not what Logan did. Logan faced it. And he overcame it. And I think they were very different people. And I think that they loved the idea of each other. And I do think that they loved each other, but I think they were at very different places in their lives. And, Logan trying to get her to see a therapist and work through their stuff, that wasn't him being condescending, that wasn't him being controlling, that was him seeing the person he loves most in pain and trying to help her. But she doesn't face her pain. She doesn't accept pain. She's very much a vengeance person. She's let me get even with people, that's why I love her. That's why I watch the show, because I do love that personality. But you see how much they had grown separately, and then being together, it felt forced. The relationship, and I think Logan wanted Veronica. I don't think Veronica knew what she wanted. And I think that's why she was part of the reason why she was so hesitant of the marriage, because she wasn't sure. Plus, every marriage she had seen as a PI and as a child of divorce has ended badly. But I just think that in high school, they were perfect together. 15 years later, I don't think that they messed as well as they used to. And it's, again, like the Weevil thing, it's no one's fault. They had just grown separately. And they were trying to make this work because they love each other and because of all their shared history. And I do think they really loved each other. But they weren't in the same place anymore. And that is important. Um, so then we get to the death, and people are so mad about it. How dare they? I'm not watching without Logan. Doesn't Rob Thomas know that the show is about all these characters and not just Veronica? Rah, 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 wah, 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 hatred, hatred, hatred. And it's like, do you not understand the show? The show is called, first and foremost, Veronica Mars. The show is about her. It is. It's her show. So that nonsense is pointless. But going back to the season 3 thing of, she has the best of intentions, but it goes wrong. And I think this is it. I think that they needed this as a catalyst to get us to whatever is in store for us next. Logan dying, Logan being murdered by a person that she put away, and her realizing it right before it happened, but before she could do anything to stop it, is so heart-wrenching and so important. Veronica's a control freak, and her not having that control and losing the love of her life after she just realized that she wants this and she's going to take it is devastating. But it's motivating. It changes the trajectory of her life. This is the next Lily Kane. The movie puts her back from the point she left. It erases 10 years of her life and puts her back to the path that she was originally on. It didn't diverge anything. It diverged her from the life that she ran to that she never really wanted. This changes her life again. That's meaningful. That's important. That is useful. And it's interesting. And it sets up a whole new show to deal with whole new things. And being out of Neptune, being on the road, doing more Murder, She Wrote type things, I think that's cool. Getting new cast of characters, not having the same people involved in everything week in, week out. It's interesting. It gets to explore new topics, and we have a whole new damage that Veronica has to deal with and cope with and excel on. Logan dying and Logan being murdered by a person that Veronica just put away and not being able to stop it is such a Veronica Mars thing. And a lot of people are saying, oh, he didn't deserve it, or oh, it was so pointless. He should have died saving his country or died heroically saving someone. His death was just so pointless. And it's like, you're right. And that's the point. I don't understand how these people who are upset get it and yet don't understand it. Yes, his death was pointless. And that was the point of it. That it was pointless. That sometimes bad things happen. And he was a hero. He served his country heroically, fought for this country, risked his life every day to keep everyone else safe, and he survived all of that. Then he died in a car bomb that wasn't even really meant for him. And the pointlessness of that death is the point. That no matter how hard you fight, no matter how hard you try, sometimes people just die. And I think that is something that Veronica has never really come to grips with. Her best friend died, and she moved heaven and earth to figure out how she died and get justice for her dead friend. She can't do that for Logan. She knows who killed him, and he's already in prison. She can't get justice for him. And what does that do to her? That's a story that I want to know. I want to read. And the pointlessness of the death is just, it's so meaningful, ironically enough. So poignant. And it's great storytelling. And it fits so perfectly. Yeah, I saw people saying, oh, Keith should have died. He had a full story and it would have made sense. And rah, rah, rah. And it's just like, no. If Keith died, that would have been a cliche. Obviously, when he defuses the bomb and when he's there to defuse it, forcing the Patton Oswalt to defuse the bomb, you think he's going to die. It's that building that tension. And that is a TV trope to think. You think he could die. That they could do that. Like, it could be too late and blow it up. And that's a TV twist that you see coming. Logan dying at the last moment is not the twist you see coming. And it's not the twist Veronica saw coming. And that's what makes it so powerful. And people saying, oh, it's the moment Veronica Mars jumped the shark. No. Anyone saying that or thinking that, you are so misguided. I think this is the moment that Veronica Mars goes from being a great show to being one of the all-time bests. I think the show elevates from here to a level that we can't even imagine. Because they just destroyed her world again. And instead of her running away and trying to reinvent herself and forget her past and just be done with it all like she did last time something bad happened, this time she's still doing what she loves. She's just doing it somewhere else. She's taking everything that happened to her and bottled it up, and she's going on the road with it. And it's a whole new adventure for a whole new story. And I think it could go some really interesting places. And I'm excited for it. I am. And I think a lot of people just don't have the imagination to accept what's coming. And I think far too many people were invested in that relationship before everything else. But that relationship wasn't the heart of the show. It never was. It was a big part of the show, but it's not the heart of the show. That's like saying Buffy's relationship with Angel was the heart of the show. The seasons without Angel are just as good. If not, some of them might be even better. Like, just give it a shot. Don't hate on something just because you don't understand it or because they did something that you don't like. Life doesn't always work out the way you want it, and neither should television. That's just my perspective on it. I love the season, and I think all the hate and visceral it's getting is not only uncalled for, but also just it's short-sighted, and it's all just emotional rage. And think about it. Take a step back and process what happened, and I think you'll come around to this was the best thing that could happen. Veronica Mars settling down and being happy is not Veronica Mars. Season 5, where her and Logan are married and happy together, is not the show any of us want to watch. It's not. Because it wouldn't be her. She's all about pain and trauma and channeling that to something productive. She's not going to do that if she's happily married. I'm sorry. She needs that pain. She needs that heartbreak. And there's no bigger heartbreak than this. But that's just my perspective on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And till next time, I'm Jonathan. Give us legends.